Hey guys, Carlo Filippone here, your muscle chef, ready to talk to you about this guy, the chicken pound. What do we do with the chicken pound? We prepare grilled chicken in different flavors, 6 to be exact. If you're serious about bodybuilding and you meal prep, don't go anywhere else. This is the company for you.
RX Television on RxMuscle.com. This is Ask Dave, better known as hashtag Ask Dave, brought to you by Species Nutrition, the Legion Sports Festival, and the Chicken Pound, as well as Titan Medical Center. I'm your host, Sadiq Faruqi. This is your 30-minute question and answer show with Dave Palumbo. All your questions, be it on diet, training, supplementation, IFBB pros, competitions, whatever it is on your mind. Obviously, the big news, the Olympia weekend is only 9 days away. In 1 week's time, we will be arriving in Las Vegas. The team here at RxMuscle.com, we're going to be bringing you a scene setter, of course, on Wednesday. We're going to be interviewing anyone and everyone we run into, but we are going to give you wall-to-wall coverage of the 2019 Mr. Olympia. As we now bring in Dave Palumbo. Dave, so many subplots starting to emerge, of course. The big news this past Friday night, I remember I was stunned to see it just as well as the rest of the bodybuilding world, and that is that Hadi Choopan mysteriously getting his visa for the U.S. He will be in the Olympia, the only thing to be determined, and I think Hadi Rambold is going to answer that today, whether it's the Open or the 212.
Yeah, I had Sean Ray on my show. Obviously, we're going to be airing that, I think, in the next day or so. We talked about that extensively. You know, what would be the right move? Now, assuming Hadi can make the 212, I personally, and I think Sean agreed with me, that we feel that win the 212 Olympia. You're not an old guy. Win the 212, go back to Iran as a hero, as Mr. Olympia, come back next year and do the Open. You know, I think that that's the smart move. It's a good marketing move. It might, you know, obviously everyone wants to win the Open Mr. Olympia. He's not going to win the Mr. Olympia this year. I don't care what anyone says. You know, I don't think anyone thinks he's going to. So why, even if you're going to place third in the Open, win the 212 Olympia. Show everyone you're an Olympia champ, then come back next year like Flex Lewis will be, go into that Open category and you know, tear it up. Or even 2 weeks after the Olympia, you can go to Italy and compete in the Open if you want. I think that's the move. Now, the only reason why I think that wouldn't happen possibly is he's not, maybe his weight is too high. Maybe he didn't think he was going to make it into the Olympia, or maybe he was shooting for that Italy show after the Olympia and his weight's too high and he's going to have trouble getting down. That's the only thing I could possibly see as a reason to do the Open. But I've been hearing a lot of rumors that he's going to do the Open. So I guess eventually by this time next week we'll know, but I have a feeling Hadi Rambold and Hadi have some sort of an idea, unless they're going, say, you know, they might be saying, let's play it by ear. Let's see Sunday night what you weigh. Sunday night we'll make the decision.
So if I understand correctly, Hadi Rambold did make an announcement on his Instagram that they would be making the decision, or announcing the decision, on a newsletter of his supplement company, Evogen Nutrition. So, well, yeah.
Hadi has to always make it some kind of a marketing move, but I understand what he's doing. The guy represents his company, might as well. But the point is that, you know, it doesn't really matter. The fact is that he's in the U.S. and he's going to be in the Olympia, and that's what we want to see as fans. So whatever division he does, it's going to be exciting. You know, I think there's enough good guys in the Open at this point where he's, you know, if he was a guy who could come into the Open and win it, obviously we want to see him in that. But he's not, so there's enough good guys in the Open to keep us preoccupied. Inject a little excitement into the 212 division. I think that would be the right move.
Look, we could talk about it as being the story of the 2019 Olympia, but nonetheless, it is a great story, Dave, as we've made video after video on how great it would be to see a top athlete come and compete at the top event of a sport, which is really what it's all about.
Yeah.
We're going to get a chance to...
Sid, you know that the guy from the New York Post actually was supposed to call me yesterday. He actually is like, I heard Hadi's in the Olympia. He was doing a follow-up story on it. We never hooked up for... I don't know if he's still writing it or whatever, but he was so excited, the guy. I said, well, maybe you had something to do with it, you know? Maybe, you know, we know Donald Trump reads the Post. Maybe he saw that article and he made it happen. Who knows?
Well, they say that sports is the greatest tool of diplomacy, so let's see. Let's get to the questions. The first two questions, of course, from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. The first question, semi-clean cheat meal frequency during a bulk, example, muffins, Rice Krispie treats, cereal, etc. Same frequency as real full on cheats such as pizza and cookies. Once a week, I see bodybuilders having some every other day.
It really depends on your metabolism. You know, when I was bulking up, 90% of the food that I was eating was clean. But at night, I would eat like a pint of Haagen-Dazs. You know, I was eating, I would have my junk food in there as well, but I never replaced the good food with junk food. It was extra. I used to tell people, you know, if my friends were going out for pizza or something like that, and I knew that we were gonna go eat a lot, you know, I probably was gonna eat like, you know, 4 or 5 slices of pizza, I would drink 50 grams of whey isolate before I'd leave the house. And then I'd go eat the pizza. So I never felt guilty. I'm like, all right, I can eat the pizza because I already got my protein in for the meal. So I always plan protein first. Then if I still have an appetite to eat more food, that's great. Because I knew I wasn't getting fat. I had a very fast metabolism. The problem is if you start eating too much junk food thinking that that's gonna help you gain weight, what invariably happens is you're not as hungry. So you wind up missing all these other meals. So let's say if I was eating, you know, 10 times a day, and I'm having like, 2 junk food meals a day, if I'm only now eating 6 meals a day with the 2 junk meals, I'm actually eating less than I was eating before. So you can't substitute. If you're gonna eat junk food, it has to be in addition to what you do.
Second question, again from the Dave Palumbo Experience app. Dave, what do you think of taking 50 mcg of T3 in off-season to provide better metabolism, better food breakdown, etc., or isn't it worth it and just good for dieting purposes?
If you have to take first of all, when you take any kind of T3 supplement, okay, invariably if you're taking more than your body needs, your body's gonna stop producing some of its own, okay? So you're really not getting that much of a boost. Now, it's stupid to take it in the off season unless you have a thyroid problem. So if you're producing adequate amounts of thyroid hormone, T3, the active thyroid hormone, then more is not better, okay? Especially to grow. Now, if you're not producing enough, now I've seen guys come back with blood work and their T4 and T3 were low, and they were hypothyroid. Those people will benefit from taking a replacement. You know, from a mental standpoint, because you can get depressed, to a physical standpoint of actually putting on muscle. You need optimal thyroid output in order to put muscle on and repair. I mean, that's part of the whole anabolic process. So taking extra when you're normal already is not helpful. And if anything, it might be a hindrance.
Let's go to the Instagram questions. Again, if you're not following us, our handle is official_RxMuscle. And as we've been saying for the last few weeks, from now through Olympia weekend, that is going to be your source of the most instant updates as far as everything going on in the Olympia, be it progress pictures, be it the new content that we have on the YouTube channel, and of course, anything and everything and everyone that we see Olympia weekend. Let's go to Jay Risotto. Good question here. Dave, we talk about the conversation about moving venues for the Olympia. Well, he has a question about moving Olympia during a different time, stating that wouldn't many bodybuilders who typically would associate summer with vacations, barbecues, hangout, and fun, wouldn't they like to have their summer back instead of being home all summer, dieting and prepping all summer?
Well, I think notoriously, the Olympia used to be later in the year. It actually used to be in October. They moved it a little earlier, I guess, for, I don't know what reasons they moved it earlier, but they did. I think it's good. I think it's in Vegas. The weather is nice. You know, people don't realize it. In the later months, as you get towards winter, it gets cool in Vegas. So September, it's still nice and warm, but it's not oppressively hot usually. I think it's a perfect time of year, and I think you got the Arnold at a good time of year. Really, truth be told, Arnold should be in the summer because Columbus, Ohio gets really, really bitter cold in the winter. But that's been the convention that we set up, Arnold and Olympia. They're kind of like separated by 5-6 months. And those are your 2 main shows of the year, and then all the other ones kind of fall in the middle. I think it works pretty well. I think it would disrupt the whole cycle of what's going on. Because remember, bodybuilders are cyclical, creatures. You do this show here, you do this off season, you rest these many months, and you do it again. And so if they all of a sudden change the cycle, everyone would be all screwed up. So I think we got it right. I think that the seasons are good. Remember, you're not going to hold a show in December during Christmas. That's not good. It just doesn't work. And all the amateur qualifiers like the USA, the Team Universe, North America, those are all in the summer already. So I think they got the timing down perfect.
Let's go to our Junket 8. Dave, might be a silly question, but what do you think of the new GH transdermal creams? They look interesting, but can they possibly work like real GH?
You know, there's oral GH supposedly, but that's not really absorbable orally. You know, it's most of these, what they call an oral GH is really GH releasers. I don't know about these. Look, if I'm taking growth hormone and I'm spending that much money, I want to make sure this stuff gets into my bloodstream. There's no better way than to inject it. Bodybuilders will never trade transdermals, sublinguals for injections. We want that stuff in our blood. We have no problem taking injections of it. We know it's direct, injection right into the bloodstream. And so I don't think that'll ever be an issue for bodybuilders. What they make these transdermals and these sublingual stuff for is for people who are like regular, normal people who just, the idea of a shot, drives them nuts. They're so scared of it. It's like, I breed snakes, and I bring a normal person out to my snake room, they're petrified. I put a snake in their hand, they're like shaking like a leaf, and then they hold the snake for 10, 15 minutes, like, oh, this is cool. It's the same thing with a shot. The idea of taking your own injection, because we're so traumatized as kids, with getting vaccinations, who the hell wants one of those, right? That was the most traumatizing time ever, going to the doctor having to get a shot, right? That you think that shots are too painful and they're just, you don't want to think about it. But once you start doing them, it's not a big deal anymore. So for bodybuilders, I don't think that'll ever be an issue.
Let's go to John at Patty Curran. Dave, in your opinion, what's your, quote, knockout body part any competition? What's the, quote, daddy muscle group that wins a show? For me, it's biceps, which is why I think Arnold's physique appeals to the mass of fans.
Look, I'll say it, I've said it a million times. You can never have arms that are too good, right? Ronnie Coleman's arms, you think arms, arms is just such a showy body part. That's why it drove me crazy in the early part of my career. I had a very long arm, and my arm never looked big. And it used to drive me. Matter of fact, I said this story before. My dad used to say to me, he goes, you don't have the arms of those guys. He was basically saying you're wasting your time bodybuilding early in my career. And then obviously my arms got, up to 23 inches at some point. And then he was surprised because he didn't think they would ever get that big. So arms are a great showy body part. You know what? And I love legs. I think, legs, for the open bodybuilding class, legs sets apart the guys who are okay from the guys who are awesome. If you have a great, let's face it, Rodin won the Olympia because he's got great legs. Curry's, knock against him has always been, yeah, he's got a great upper body, but his legs are not as up to snuff with that upper body. So good legs and good arms, I think, are calling cards. And obviously, how can I leave out backs? More guys have won the Olympia because of their backs than anything else. Dorian had the greatest back. Haney had a great back. Ronnie had a great back. So, but showy body parts, when you're just looking at a person, legs and arms.
Let's go to Michael Rogers. Besides salmon, what is the best fish to eat? Higher protein, better taste, more affordable. Also, can you bulk on fish or save for prep?
I got news for you. Mackerel is a great fish. They sell mackerel in a can. I got into eating that a while ago, and I was doing it like almost every day for a while, and then I kind of just transitioned off of it, and I started eating salmon fillets. But mackerel is actually, I think it might even be higher in omega-3 fats than salmon, believe it or not. And it's a good tasting fish if you get the right type. Sometimes people get turned off by mackerel because they go to a sushi restaurant and they get the really crappy mackerel. But the Spanish mackerel, which is the white fish mackerel, is phenomenal. A lot of people don't know that. Once again, if you go to the supermarket and you buy, I think it's Coles brand, C-O-L-E-S. It's not Coles Supermarket, but it's Coles is the name of the actual brand that makes the mackerel. Delicious. They make it in water and in oil. Get the one in water, especially if you're dieting. And that is an awesome source of protein. And it's not that expensive. It's like $3, for a can, maybe, and you can get them on sale too. And it's something you can just stockpile in your closet. Super, super good source.
Let's go to Wellness Bikini Queen. General, but your tips for getting killer hamstrings.
I always felt that, hamstrings should be trained with legs, in general, because I don't think you could really isolate hamstrings. When you squat, you're using your quads and your hamstrings. So to me, the squat was always the mass building exercise, not only for quads, not only for glutes, not only for adductors, but for hamstrings. Because when you lower the weight, that's your hamstring doing that. So you can do all the leg curls in the world. You can do all the stiff-legged deadlifts in the world. The exercise that builds big hamstrings is squats, full range leg presses, hack squats, anything that's a compound movement where you're actually having to lower the weight and raise the weight, you're going to get good development. Obviously, free weight squats are the best because it requires stabilization, which also uses those hamstrings. So, people ask you, how can I build big hamstrings? Squat, wide stance, deep squats below parallel.
Let's go to the Aaron Ramos. Is a bulk/caloric surplus needed to grow muscle, or is it better to maintain a 10 to 15% body fat level while trying to add muscle?
You need a surplus of protein and fat because those are the raw materials that build muscle, okay? Carbohydrates are a fuel source that fuel the muscle building process, but they're not necessary to actually physically make new muscle tissue. Protein and fat are. So you need a surplus of protein and fat when you're growing. However, if you're not eating enough carbs and your body doesn't have enough energy, the body will use some of that fat and protein that you're eating for fuel. We don't want that because if that happens, now you're taking away from the muscle building components that your body needs. So that's why it's important to balance the right amount of protein, the right amount of fat, and the right amount of carbs. Carbs are easy because once you figure out how many you need, that's what you stick with. If you take in too much, you're going to get fat. If you don't take in enough, your body's going to use some of the fat and protein you're eating for fuel, and then you're not going to grow adequately. So it's a trial and error process. That's why it's impossible to give you a formula what to do. I usually start guys off on a certain amount, what I think is going to work, and then I watch and see what their body does. If they're losing weight, then I know I got to give them more food. If they're gaining fat too much, I got to take away some carbs. So it's not a hard process if you know how to go through the different steps to figure out how much your body needs.
So Fitnessman81 has a question that a lot of people have asked in different variations. It's about your workout regimen now. And I know, Dave, you and I had spoken about maybe doing some training content as far as, proper how-tos, how you did, and so on and so forth. He wants to know, I guess, what kind of workouts are you doing, and if fans would ever get some footage of your current workout regimen.
I'm embarrassed to show you what I do now. That's why. Because I keep having new kids every 2 years, and I have, obviously, my new daughter was just born, less than a week ago. It's hard for me to get to the gym. I go to the gym once every 3 weeks normally when I drop my dogs at the groomer, which is right next to the gym. I go into the gym and I bang out legs and a couple chest and back because I just don't have the time. I have a Life Fitness cable crossover machine in my house and a couple dumbbells, which I can do some work with. The good thing now is now that I have two good shoulders with the shoulder replacements, I don't have any pain when I work out anymore, which is a miracle because for 18 years I've been in pain training. So I actually get on a bench and I'm actually doing dumbbell presses. I'm doing presses overhead, and it's unbelievable that I have absolutely no pain. As a matter of fact, it's so wonderful that I'm afraid to go too heavy because I'm like, I don't want to screw anything up. Like I'm afraid I'm going to wear down the shoulder replacements. I'm like, this is almost too good to be true. This feels great. Like I can actually squeeze the muscle because I have a very good mind-muscle connection. If any of you guys have ever stopped training for a while and then gone back to it, it's like you never stopped. It's like riding a bicycle. I just can control the muscle groups properly. And unfortunately, I wasn't able to do that for many years because of the pain level in my shoulders because I had so much arthritis in there. Now that I don't have it, it's like, whoa. I'll sometimes pose in my bathroom mirror. I'm like, man, I pose better now than when I was competing because I could actually move my body into the right position. So what do I do now? I try to do one body part per day. Literally, it probably takes me 20 minutes if I have time. It's up in my game room where my kids watch TV. So a lot of times they go to sleep. Now I'm sleeping upstairs because I have, my daughter was born. I'll actually just do like 15, 20 minutes of a body part. Bicep curls with the cable crossover machine, tricep, push downs, overhead. I can do everything. I have no pain level. I just don't go super heavy. I would like to have a few more machines, especially for leg training would be nice. Because I don't really squat because I still have, my quad still is not 100%. I still have a partial tear there, so I really don't want to, push that tendon. But what I can do, which is great now, is I can do more demonstrations on how to do proper exercise form. And it may, at some point, when my new daughter gets a little older, maybe Tyler and I will go to the gym, we'll do some body part training, and we can demonstrate, proper form, execution, range of motion. I think people would really appreciate that because it doesn't matter how much weight they lift. They just want to see technique. And that I am very good at. I happen to have been a very good personal trainer. I just found it boring. I like to do diets better, but I have a good feel because I'm a slow learner. Some people pick things up real easy. Because I'm a slow learner, I methodically have to figure out exactly mechanistically how things work, which makes it easy to explain to other people how to do things. That's what makes you a good teacher. People who things come naturally to sometimes can't explain how to do things because they don't really understand themselves. It kind of comes naturally to them. So there'll definitely be in the future some training segments that we'll do, and I will teach people how to work, especially the compound movements, bent rows, squats, bench press, because if you learn to do it and execute these movements properly, you're going to get better development.
Let's go to B Winery 20, had a complete bicep tear in February, had the surgery performed, and finally released. Would you suggest using more compound lifts for biceps or single arm? Definitely don't want to tear it again.
Yeah, I would do more unilateral single arm movements because you want to, in other words, the good arm is going to be stronger, right, than the one you had repaired. So you don't never want to do more weight with the good arm than you can do with the bad arm. So always start with the weaker arm first. Whatever you can do with that arm, let's say you do 20-pound dumbbell curl, then do that with the good arm, even though you can do more. Because you want to keep the symmetry the same. And now if you're doing unilateral movements, it's good because you're ensuring that the weaker arm is working. Because if you're doing compound movements, invariably the strong, good arm is going to do more work. It's just impossible not to. So if you want to keep the development equal, do things individually, whether it be cable curls or dumbbell curls or machine curls, one arm at a time.
Aesthetic with ends. Dave, how do I prevent painful low back pumps on leg days? I warm up thoroughly, stretch regularly, but when my lower back gets pumped, I can't push maximally on my compound lifts. Any advice?
It sounds like you're holding fluid because sometimes I would experience that right after a show where I literally had to lay down on the floor in between sets because I had such a crazy lower back pump. But once my body got regulated to fluid and I wasn't excessively holding water, I didn't have that problem anymore. Now, what I did notice is when I started dieting, sometimes you're stronger the initial weeks of the diet because you still have all that muscle and all that weight, but some of the fluid has left you. The problem is if you're training dehydrated all the time, because I know guys that take diuretics, that's stupid. If you train dehydrated, a dehydrated muscle is a very catabolic muscle, meaning it's not going to grow well. So the hydration level of the muscle is important to the anabolic process that's going on. You got to figure out why are you so bloated? Why is your lower back so full with water? Are you excessively eating a lot of carbs? Is your blood pressure too high? You got to figure that out. Something's going on there. You should not be that pumped in that lower back. Unless, like I said, it was right after a show and you're rebounding. Then it would make sense.
Let's go to Hurt412. I'm going to hire you for the last 10 days until my show. Is there anything you like people to do to make your job easier?
I tell people, look, the more information you give me in a succinct way, the better. So when I start working with people, I don't want a 25-page novel about your whole life because unless it's relevant to to how you look, okay? Because it's too much. I like succinct, emails. I like pictures, obviously. I want to know what your diet is. And I don't need, some people write me their diet and then in between they put where they take 6 vitamin C's here and they take 14 multivitamins and they take their Arthrolyze and their V. That complicates it. Put your diet down. Meal 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Put your anabolic cycle down that you're using. Okay. Put I don't want to see every set you do. If you want to tell me your workout, fine. On Monday I train chest. On Tuesday I train legs, etc. That's it. And then I will take everything and fix it, or put it together properly and give you a last week regimen. Usually if someone hires me for the last week prep, which I charge $100 for, or $200 for the last 2 weeks, I charge $150 for the last 2 weeks. They'll contact me ahead of time so I have all their stuff in place so that they have the schedule to start when we're supposed to start, if it's a week out or 2 weeks out, and then we do updates every single day. So once again, the more succinct you can give me your stuff, the better it is. Once again, writing crazy novels or texting me 10-page texts is something that will never get read. I'm not going to read 10 pages on my cell phone. I already can't see. I already need reading glasses. If you have a lot to say, email it, because it's easier to look at it on a big screen.
Time for a couple of more questions. We already got a message from Tyler saying to keep it tight. I just wanted to give a shout out, Dave, to Tyler, because right now we're in the stretch run of the Iron Road to the Olympia, and we have interviews galore, analysis segments galore. There is so much content being produced, and I just wanted to give a shout out. Tyler Shore doing a great job pumping out all these videos. We have so much planned over the course of the next 6 days leading into us leaving for the Olympia, all sorts of pre-Olympia interviews, prediction segments, analysis segments, so on and so forth. So with that, 2 more questions. You see some, do you drop test as you get closer to a show to minimize water retention?
No. As you guys know, I don't believe in water retention. I think it's made up. No, because what happens is if you're on low carbs, you're not retaining any water. And even if you are retaining water while you carb up, that's fine. That's why you stop drinking 18 hours before the competition, and you add diuretics in to get rid of the water. So that's not an issue. Fluid retention is not a problem. People confuse fluid retention with fat. They think, oh, I'll do the sauna, I'll take diuretics. I'm like, why are you doing that? Are you trying to bamboozle me on your update pictures? Fat is fat, water's water. I don't care about water. If you're fat, you're going to hold water. They go hand in hand with each other. But don't confuse fat with water. A lot of people think, oh, I got to deplete this water. I'll go sit in the sauna so you'll see my true conditioning. I'm like, no, I know your true conditioning. You're not in shape yet. Once you're shredded and you have no body fat in you, you'll find that you don't really hold any water. It's a weird, they go complementary to each other.
Final question from old school Matt. Dave, what's your advice in building a client base if you're a new coach?
Train a couple people for free. Pick a couple, whether they be friends of yours, relatives. Find a couple people that you're friends with, or even if they're like young guys, train them for free, diet them down, get them in the best shape of their life, and then they'll sell your business for you, because they'll tell everyone that first of all, they're going to brag about you just because they're going to feel obligated because you did their diet for free. And you got good before and after pictures. Make sure you take those, put them on your Instagram. And before you know it, you got a couple of people hiring you. The key is you got to understand, when you first start, you're not going to get 1 million clients. It doesn't work like that. But it's better that you don't have 1 million clients because you're not that versed in it. Having 3 or 4 or 5 clients is more than you could probably handle when you first start coaching people. You'll give them more attention. They'll feel like you're a better coach that way. You'll be able to focus on what they're doing. It won't become answering their emails in 3 seconds anymore. You'll spend more time with them, and that will help build your reputation, okay? And you'll be able to study how their bodies respond better, and once you do that, you learn from experience, okay, in this situation I do this, in that situation I do that. That's why it goes hand in hand with like taking a course like my Secrets to Becoming a Diet Guru course, which by the way we'll be holding at the end of October. You can go to davepalumbo.com and sign up. There's limited seating. Actually, I can't believe it, we almost sold the class out already. So you go there, you take my 10-hour class, my 1-day class, you learn the science of being a coach, then you go into the field and you be a coach. You practice it. Because if you practice your craft, you're going to get better at it. And the more you experience and the better the results you get, okay, those people will then sell your business. And before you know it, you go to 5 clients, the next year you have 15 clients, then you got 30 clients, and then before you know it, you're turning people away because you got too many clients. So just do what you like. Don't put pressure on yourself to have a certain amount of clients. They'll come to you if you're good at what you do.
And on one last note, this is, of course, the first episode of Ask Dave that we're doing, Dave, since you and Amanda welcomed in your 3rd child, Shayla, born last Wednesday or Thursday?
Wednesday.
Wednesday. So
it was Thursday. I'm kidding around. My wife likes to think I don't remember anything. And I don't. I can't remember anything. No, Thursday at 4:56, I believe, or 4:57, we welcomed an 8.6 pound, which is the heaviest child we've had, Shayla Elizabeth. And she's beautiful. She's doing great. She's eating. She's kind of sleeping. And, she's on her way to becoming the next Miss Olympia. No, just kidding. She's on her way to becoming the next pain in the ass in our lives. Now, we love her, and she's I can't believe it. My kids are all giants right now. I know all parents like to brag about the kids. My kids are very big for their age. And my daughter is starting out bigger than the other two. So either she's going to be a giant compared to those two, or she's going to maybe she won't grow as fast as them. I don't know. But she definitely is bigger than the other two by a whole pound. So.
Well, we've been getting congratulatory messages all week long, and we appreciate that. But the question is, you said that the baby's sleeping. Are you sleeping?
No. This is how we've been arranging it. I'm sleeping upstairs in the game room on the couch because my wife is basically, taking care of Shayla because she's breastfeeding now, and the baby has to eat every 2 hours around the clock. But my other two kids are in their bedrooms, and so they like to wake up a million times in the middle of the night and need attention. So my wife can't be running and taking care of 3 kids. So I'm upstairs with the baby monitor. And what happens is when one of them wakes up, I go running, okay? But by the time I get to actually go to sleep, because I have so many emails that I get backed up on because of all the kids running around, I don't go to bed till 3 in the morning. So then by 4, my son's already, waking up and coming in. And I'm like, nope, you gotta go back. It's not the morning yet. So I've been sleeping probably like 4 hours with maybe 1 hour of restful sleep. So I'm working on fumes, and I don't have to tell you. You already went through that once before, with your new baby. Chris Aceto's going through it with his 6-month-old, and you got to get through it. The first 6 months sucks, and then it gets a little better and a little better and a little better, and so we'll get into a routine. But I got to be there because I don't want my wife to have a nervous breakdown. So we kind of are trying to divide the labor as well as possible. Plus, my wife runs all 3 businesses, and I'm doing the RxMuscle stuff a couple days a week, and then I have my snake channel. So we're busy. We're very busy, and that's why I'm not going to the Olympia, because it's too much right now. Hopefully by the Arnold, we'll see. If we got into some kind of routine, I'll be able to go. That'll be my my New Year's. That'll be my birthday present for 2020.
And on that note, that's going to do it for this episode of Ask Dave. Again, special thanks to Tyler Shore for all the work this stretch run of the Iron Road to the Olympia, and of course, every week on Ask Dave. For Dave Palumbo, I'm Sadiq Faruqi. We'll see you next time.
Thanks, Sid.